Okay, 1 medium onion. I just added 1 cup of carrot to 3 cups of water. A half a cup of chopped onions. 1 stalk of scallion or scallion or green onions, whatever you prefer to call it. I'm adding 1 tablespoon of chopped scallions. We're not gonna add 1 sprig of thyme and let that boil. Okay, I'm gonna put my seasonings together now. My dry seasonings, I'm gonna use half a teaspoon. That's a half a teaspoon of Mrs. Dash. I'm using about a 1/4 teaspoon of this adobo seasoning, a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, using a 1/4 teaspoon of all-purpose. If you want to use more, you can. I'm using a 1/4 teaspoon of, this is meat seasoning, but it's not meat, no, it's meat seasoning, but I'm just using that to give it a little fuller flavor. It's optional. Add those dry seasonings to the soup and let that boil. Now I'm using yellow yams. You can use Irish potato if you don't have yellow yams. This is about 2 cups. You can add more if you want. Peel and dice. Okay, I have a half of a cabbage. I'm gonna get about 3 cups of shredded cabbage. That's what I want for the soup. So I'm gonna shred this up. I don't want it too fine. I want them to be a little chunky. So I'm gonna take out the parts that are a little dark. Sometimes you get some dried pieces in it. And then I'm just about, I would say, 1-inch chunks. So I'm going to do that for the next piece and then we measure. So what I'm doing, I'm going through the cabbage and I'm taking out any little dark pieces that I see. Okay, it should be okay. Alright, so this is 1 cup and a heap cup. 2 cups. Okay. Three cups, 4 cups. So you could add the additional if you want. I'm gonna save back the rest to make a salad later. So 4 cups. Okay, I have some broccoli here, which I'm gonna soak in some salt water. Well, the salt is in the water already. So what I'm gonna do is prepare them and then put them back in the water to continue to soak. Okay, what I'm gonna do with the broccoli, I'm just gonna I'm not gonna cut it anywhere else except between the stems. So you can just break them off if you want to break them off like this, but because I want them to be done neatly, So I'm gonna cut it down a little bit more, and then I'm just gonna cut in between the stems so I get these pretty little florets of broccoli. Can break them apart here now since I've taken off most of the stem. So I'm just gonna have these tiny little pieces of broccoli, but I'm not cutting them up, I'm just breaking them off. So I have these little bundles of broccoli looking nice and pretty, just like that. So I'm gonna do that with the rest. And I could cut the stems. If you're gonna use the stems, you could just cut them into some little circles like that if you're gonna use them, but I'm not using the stems because I'm using this just as, you know, to decorate the soup a little, give it a little color. So this is completely optional, it's up to you. So let me get another one. So I'm gonna do maybe about a cup of these. I'm just breaking them up into little pieces. So each piece still has a stem attached, a little piece of stem attached. And I'll cut out any discolored parts out of it. Alright, so I'm going to do that for the rest until I have about a half a cup, about a 3/4 cup. Okay, so I'm going to put about a teaspoon or so of salt on this. And then I'm going to add some more water. This way I'll get rid of, when I'm ready to rinse off everything, I'll get rid of all the little insects, which hopefully are not in there, but just in case there are any in there, it will get them off. I have about 2 cups of sweet corn, so I'm gonna add these to the soup now because it's finished. Basically just to heat up these in the soup. So this is the soup. The yams are all done and everything else is nicely cooked. Everything else is nicely cooked. So we're gonna add our sweet corn now. Add the sweet corn. So I'm gonna let these heat thoroughly before I add the cabbage because I don't want the cabbage to get too overcooked. Okay, so I'm gonna be ready for the broccoli now. So I'm just gonna rinse them in some nice clean fresh water. Because remember, they are now in heavily salted water. So you could just put them in a strainer too and just rinse them underneath the pipe. I'm gonna add a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. You can add more, but you can taste it and decide if you want to add more salt or not. I'm gonna add the cabbage now. And cover the pot and let that steam. Let me give it a little stir. Not too much because the cabbage is very bulky. So when it steams, it will reduce. I'm gonna add a cup of water because I think it needs some more water. Let that heat up before I add the broccoli. Okay, I'm giving it a little stir. I'm gonna bring it to the boil. Here we are now, we are all done. I'm just gonna drop the broccoli in. Sprinkle it over the top, and I'm gonna turn off the stove and cover it, and that should be enough to cook the broccoli. Here we are now, we're gonna have our delicious and refreshing soup. Nothing too heavy, but it will be very filling because you have the yams in there. It's quite healthy. And you remember to taste it before to ensure you have the right amount of salt in there.